Back to the show, and I am Chidibora. I still have my colleague right here with me this morning. Angelo, what do we have for the show this morning?
Well, we have a discussion this morning on fuel subsidy removal, the palliative Nigerian needs. And then we have two gentlemen here that will be doing justice to that discussion in the person of Comrade Obi Meze, who is a blogger, public affairs analyst. Comrade, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And also we have Barrister Chris Arukwe, who is also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
And so quickly, without much ado, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what we have for you today. And we're talking about fuel subsidy removal, the palliative Nigerians need. You understand? Because on the inaugural speech of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he said it even before he sat down in office to begin his duty by telling Nigerians he will continue with the palliative, or rather with the fuel subsidy that his predecessor Buhari had. And then from that moment on, Nigerians have been on a turmoil of hardship, increment in every aspect of the economy. So the guest that we have this morning will definitely have to look into that fuel subsidy removal and then the effect and how Nigerians can come out of the doldrum. Thank you. Let us begin our discussions. Let's begin with you, Barrister. Chris, what's your take on that inaugural speech the president made on his swearing in?
Well, I give the speech to him as his rite of passage, his right to say, his right to do as he wishes. It's his speech, it's his stay as the elected president of Nigeria. But as a Nigerian, I also have the right to say that the speech, as regards the subject matter of today, the subsidy removal and its effect on the economy and the lives of Nigerians, was rather hasty, uncalculated, and preemptive. And I rather would say, which dog is running away? What was the haste all about? Was it just a mere bravado? Was it mere Dutch courage? What is happening that has never happened? Why was that removal a topical show of manhood and muscular temerity and all that? He's taking Nigeria to a rough ride. The energy consumption, the energy unit, is central to the lives of every country, not just Nigeria. Touch the gasoline in any country by 1 unit of their currency, you see their lives moves around the spiral. And the same thing has happened to Nigeria. Because he dared to touch this monoproduct, because we don't have any alternative to energy consumption, to fuel, petroleum consumption. There are no alternative yet in these climes. So immediately you touch it, you've touched the central fiber of the lives of our people. And he has further dislocated us from normal to a new normal, a brazen way of life that Nigerians are not used to. It's affecting the poor, it's affecting the rich. Everything is topsy-turvy. Everything has snowballed into another thing. Who can explain it? Who can explain it? You talk about 200% increases in products. It's ungovernable. Which country can tolerate that? No country of the world can take that kind of breach of the lives of our people.
All right. Let's come to you, Obi Meze. He made mention that it was a hasty decision.
Very hasty.
Yes. So what should we have expected the government to do before actually removing or think of removing the fuel subsidy?
First, let me go back to what Chris said. I read the president's speech. Fuel subsidy removal was not there. It was something he just said. That kind of speech, that kind of address that he made, whoever you are as a person reading the address or to read the address, either you're a headmaster or a school principal, You help yourself by restricting yourself to what is written in the address. Because that's why it had to be written. We know you went to school, so you can speak English or your native language. All right? But then it was decided that it had to be written. That is to make sure that you confine yourself to what is there. When Chris mentioned that, yes, it was not hurried, it's not even hurried. It was not planned. The man just said, fuel subsidy has gone.
Based on the fact that it wasn't planned, because there were no appointments on who are going to be ministers or who are going to be advisors.
Apart from that, you see, we have even forgotten what that address was all about. In fuel subsidy, we're talking. There were fundamental issues he raised in that address, which has to do with correcting the entire Nigerian system. Nobody is talking about all those key issues. I was here and we discussed it. Nobody can remember any one of them now. Because like Chris said, you touch something like fuel subsidy, you scatter the whole system. You scatter the whole system. All right, it's not that Nigerians don't want fuel subsidy. It's not that Nigerians are against fuel subsidy. It is that it has to be planned and phased. You, the government, who is trying to, start up implement the subsidy, you have to also have, it's only now that they are thinking. NEC met last Thursday, and I can't really make sense out of what they said they have decided. I can't. Because, bam, they have fuel subsidy in front of them. There's nothing they can do about it. So, their brains are not engaged. Now, you can say, like the president may want to say, that the budget he had, the provision he had for fuel subsidy was to end, is it not end of July? June. End of June. Was to end by June 31. But at the time he made that that address, we still had about a month. There is a lot you can do in 1 month. That's one. Secondly, because it is there, the budget has said that we won't give you money, there will be no more violence after, for fuel subsidy after June 30. Does not mean that it's not cast in stone. Every day he goes to the National Assembly asking for one amendment or the other on the budget, and they give it to him within 24 hours. Nobody is saying don't remove fuel subsidy. It is the way and manner in which it has been done. There is, like Fela will say, there is confusion everywhere. Everything has scattered. Even in a Kolosugo, it has collapsed. The system has completely collapsed because of lack of planning.
Yeah, after that, quickly, the president said 400 billion had been saved within a month of this subsidy removal. And Nigerians were beginning to shout, hallelujah, hooray. So actually we can save this much within the short period. Now what happens? Quickly after that, we're hearing about borrowing 500 billion to be shared among the judiciary, will I say the Senate, and then 12 million households to get 8,000 naira for 6 months. Are this part of the benefit of the fuel subsidy removal? And what's your take on that, Chris?
Well, I have laid down my most brutal point on this subsidy thing. One is the subsidy thing is, we all know, is a sham. Does it exist? Does the subsidy exist, or that the subsidy element is mad in corruption? Who benefits from the subsidy? If there is subsidy, where is the physical cash of the benefit of the removal, if you had saved 400 billion, why do you need to borrow 800 billion to share on a consumptive line, to give NJC, to give to this, the Senate or the House of National Assembly, and to give 8,000 naira to the poor of the poor? There's no show that justifies what they have done. And they found themselves in a quagmire that coming out is as difficult as going in. The only solution, practical solution there, is a policy reversal. It's done in all over the world. When the effect, the intended effect, does not match the objective of the policy, you do a reversal. It is not a shame to own up that what you intended to achieve is not achieving, or the cost of achieving it is pyrrhic, is fat as shoots whatever benefit that will accrue. If we are all dying, if Nigerians are all groaning in poverty, in deprivations of all sorts, the hospitals are closing, the supermarkets are virtually empty. If you go to the biggest shops in Awka today, you see the shelves. Just take a close scrutiny. You find that the shelves are empty. And when they are not empty, the spiral increases in price of especially the foreign goods are so astronomical that you can't take it. Just this morning, I read that India, which is the biggest exporter of rice, is withdrawing exportation of rice, especially the non-basmati, of up to 20%. And last year, they exported about 22 billion tons of rice all over the world. And do you know the direct effect? That India is withdrawing their policy on rice exportation because droughts and international events have reduced the internal capacity of their own farmers to meet up with internal demand. They now have to say, we are not going to give people rice to eat while our people are starving. The same thing here is expected. You can reverse a policy that is not working. There's no solution out of it. It's a hole, it's a rat hole they have dug themselves into. There are no immediate results or palliative that can quench the fire that has been set. Because we don't have any data. The North is already quarreling with the data that was going to be used to share the 8,000 naira. The Southeast is out of it because they believe that the Southeast is not a poor part of Nigeria. So there is credibility deficit in all their intentions and implementations. So what is the solution? The solutions are not there than policy reversal. And when you intend a program, just like he rightly said, you don't extempore. You are given a speech. You limit your off comment on the text. If you want to make it poetic, you can cast in a line or two on the grammar, on the elucidation. But the basic objective of the text you have been given, because it's been edited, it's been approved, all through the rank of their system, editorial system. And you approved it. And the press have captured it, that this is what the president of Nigeria is going to be saying on the inaugural. And all of a sudden, the basic, most important ingredient that affects the lives of everybody is removed within seconds of your whims and caprices. And you turn the fate of Nigerians upside down. People are dying in their drones, in their numbers, and you careless. All we're doing is politicking. Who governs, who takes this position? And then you don't have a battery, a connection between a cabinet. He just mentioned about a neck. Which neck? Who sat and who is sitting? You don't have a cabinet. All you have is a personal advisors, and your friends who are not experts, ethnic boyfriends of old, governing Nigeria. That's not how things are done.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Let's come over to you, Obi. We made mention of a whole lot: unplanned, hasty decision, and that's talking about the removal of the fuel subsidy. Now, he said that there is no solution, because looking at the topic we are discussing, we are looking for the palliative Nigerian needs. Barrister is saying that the only palliative we need is reversal of the policy. And do you also believe that that's what we need now as a country?
That's number one. That's number one.
So there are not other things that we can do. Yeah, I know that he has made a pronouncement.
Without doing that, you're just wasting your time. Like he talked about a rat hole. You're just digging around, going nowhere. So first and foremost, we know Nigerians are prepared to allow you to remove subsidy, assuming there was a subsidy in the first place. I think if you check, if you talk to the sample most Nigerians, their problem is not subsidy. Their problem is the way the subsidy was operated and the way the withdrawal is being operated, the supposed withdrawal, that is assuming, because he put a question mark on it. And I also have that as a challenge, okay? He talked about savings. We can't see, where are these savings? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they going? So, first and foremost, reverse the policy. There is no, we just talked about India. You can't be feeding the world and your people are dying. So reverse the policy. But in your reversal, make it clear that we're coming back. All right? We made a mistake, or we were hasty, you know, if you don't want to use the word mistake. Okay? But this is something we have to do if we have to get the system working. So reverse the policy. Then work out the program that you're going to use for your palliative, assuming that you actually need palliative. Because I don't believe in this palliative, it's nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Okay? It's good that when you were talking, or was it Chris, he said that in the East, they don't think that we have poor people. Because I've always asked, do you know who has gotten this 5,000? Nobody. Do you know anybody? No. Do you know? So am I in Nigeria and am I living in Nigeria? But I don't know. And I asked my friends, I asked my relations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nobody knows. So who are these people receiving these? So from the get-go, I don't believe in any cash palliative. Because what he does is that he makes the already corrupted people in the system richer. It doesn't get there. It doesn't get to where you are. It is entirely another thing what 8,000 naira can do in a month. All right? But it does not get there. And then have you know, the few people that I've had that said they knew, or they knew somebody who got it, said, but that person said, I was told that I was getting 10,000. I was told to sign for 10,000. I signed for 10,000 and I was given 5,000. Hello. That's how your palliative works in places that it works, but not here. I have not seen, you know, I have not seen or heard of anybody who got palliatives here.
So moving forward, so what do you suggest? That's talking to you, Obi. What's, in your own opinion, the president has said it. Yeah. It's very difficult to see presidents renegade on their spoken words in this part of the world. The moment they said it, it's more like law. So in your own opinion, what do you think we can do in order to find ourselves away
from first and foremost, I don't agree with you that the president cannot go back on what he said.
In this part of the world, I said.
No, he said it's difficult, not they cannot.
They do it every day. All these pieces of papers that he sends to the National Assembly daily, is he not going back on their plans?
All right.
So what is so difficult?
All right, we will continue.
Palliative has gone through different administrations. and the subsidy rather has gone to 2 different or even 3 different administrations.
Yeah.
And then we keep having issues with it. We're going to end it. It's not feasible. It's not sustainable. And then we have one that has come in and said, okay, we want to see the end of this thing. And then Nigerians
listen.
So
Would you wait? Yeah. Would you wait until Nigerians are falling on the streets because you want to be seen as a man who keeps his words? Would you wait until Nigerians are falling on the streets?
Okay, Obi, let's just take a short break before we come back to the solution, because I know we have a whole lot to still talk about. But we actually interviewed some people in the streets concerning this removal of fuel subsidy, how they have been faring so far, and the kind of palliative that they are also expecting from the government. Let's hear what they have to say.
The issue of fuel subsidy removal has been on the lips of everyone. In as much as fuel subsidy removal aims to achieve long-term economic sustainability, but the hike and the irregularities on the prices of fuel has affected the poor masses, especially low-income earners. Join me as we go out to the streets to find out from the people their reactions concerning this controversial issue. My name is Tina Enem. Join me. Let's go.
It's not easy. A lot of persons are suffering. Even government workers, most especially, cannot even go to work because checking the cost of transportation is now high, but yet the salary has refused to increase. And if you actually divide the cost of transportation or the cost of the fuel, you find out that there's nothing remaining in the salary. Then how will these people feed? How will they send their children back to school and all that? So something needs to be done about it, because the government worker is also suffering. Not just the government worker, the job itself is also suffering, because a lot of government workers are no more going to work. What should be done is various institutions or various firms should provide something like a means of bus for their staff, at least to reduce the cost of transportation for them. If they can provide a bus, that is they call it a staff bus, so that can convey these workers, at least to reduce the cost of transportation. If other transporters charges them 500 naira, the staff bus might be charging 300 naira, which is at least is at a reasonable extent. It will help. Government should try to provide staff bus for its workers. I think it will help.
Nobody is happy, especially with the car users, you understand, because it's not easy, buying fuel at that outrageous price. It's very, very annoying. To me, honestly speaking, I don't know the expression of the feelings, how to express it, because maybe to fill my tank now is something that is like a rocket science. It's something that is not even easily obtainable anymore. So everybody's crying. It's not easy. So maybe the government, they should look into it and see something, or maybe need to reduce the price. They say they removed the subsidy. I don't know. To me, I will advise our refineries. They said Dangote refinery should start working, and honestly, we pray that the refinery should be operational first. It can help us, because we have crude in Nigeria. Why are we suffering for this? How can we export them, buy back again? And all this dollar floating of a thing is really affecting everybody. It's not easy at all. So to me, I advise the government, if there is a way, the marketers, they should find a way to find solution to this, because it's outrageous.
The first thing the government is supposed to do is not to remove the oil subsidy. They're supposed to understand the people they are governing. Removing the oil subsidy is making people to commit suicide. Everybody, we are all suffering in one way or the other. Even with the civil servants, we can't even afford money in transporting ourselves to our various offices. So I don't think the government are doing the right thing. The government is supposed to call the petroleum dealers, the fuel dealers, starting from their top. So they know how, I don't know what they are being called. From the top to the bottom, those who are selling in the free station, they're supposed to call them to order. Because once the cost of fuel is very high, everything in the market will be very, even transportation, even everything, even the food If you get money, you can now go to market. If you don't have money, you won't go to market. Look at the road. How many people are now moving around? No, many people are still at home doing nothing.
The removal of fuel subsidy, for me, is a welcome development. Okay, but the effect on people is not really okay. But I know fully well for a good society, when you want to kind of have a good society or initiate good policies, it definitely have a kind of effect on people. Okay, at present, many people are finding it very difficult to fuel their cars, their machines and co. The only thing that's giving me hope is that policy is a good policy, but at least they should use the money, they should invest the money in other things, as in building a new refinery. I think if we're able to start refining oil here in Nigeria, I think it will definitely kind of lower the price of fuel.
Buying from 530, 540 before was difficult. It was hard. Talk more of now that it is 6 something. I don't know, fueling the car and everything. I'm a civil servant. By the time I get my salary and then remove money for fuel, you can imagine. It's just God that is helping us and my husband too. If not, I'll just go and park the car. Because buying fuel at 6 something per liter, then just know how much I'll spend fueling, buying full tank of fuel. It's just hard and terrible. The government should just know what to do, because once the fuel, there is increase in fuel prices of things in the markets will definitely go up. The prices of services that requires electricity will also go up. So if there is any way that government can help, I don't know how they will do it. They should just see how they will help.
We have all heard from the people on the streets. So many people express their disappointment concerning this controversial issue. Some say that there should be need for government to regulate the price. Some suggested that there should be need for increments for salary earners and the provision of staff boss and so many others. So, what do you think?
Welcome back. We've seen the effect of subsidy removal from from what Nigerians are suffering out there. And then the presenter was asking, what do we do? But that question definitely will be thrown to the guests that we have here in the studio, talking about what do we do now that the subsidy removal is really hitting and biting hard on average Nigerians, who are even the people that are even enjoying the subsidy removal. Sometimes I begin to wonder.
I wonder, because even the lady that spoke, one of our respondents that spoke, she made mention of workers. I think she's actually a civil servant, because she kept hammering on how this has affected the civil servants, their children in school and all that. Just this morning, or we realized, it's not this morning, but we read it this morning in the news, the hike in Unity School from 45,000 to 100,000, and we are still battling with the price of petrol at 600 and something naira per liter. Now she suggested that some of the schools should bring out maybe buses to take their workers to work and bring them home, because most people, they can't afford to go to work 5 days in a week.
Yeah, even I think a week or thereabout after the announcement of the president on this subsidy removal at his inaugural speech, I think the Kwara state government now came up and said that our workers, government workers, should draw a template on how they can have a switch 3 days. Going to work 3 days instead of 5 days.
5 days,
so
yes.
as to probably, augment the transport. But then when we're talking about this thing, wouldn't the government, out of that 500 billion that we're talking about, buy buses or begin to think of other energy derivation? Most on the social media, you see people now converting their gas to energy supply in
Sure.
terms of generator outage. You understand that kind of a thing? So what is the government doing when it has to do with alternative to this hiking fuel? Yes. We have gas, we have solar, we have so many other things. And meanwhile, NEC are still coming with their own electricity tariff around the corner because they just kept it pending. They told us that by the ending of, by the first week of July, that there will be an increment in tariff, but that is on hold. So a whole lot of things are just spiraling out of control. So what do we do?
That's the question. What do we do? I know that you have said that the best thing to do is to revoke the policy. But now, while we're still waiting that the government will do the needful, what are we supposed to do now?
Yes, let me just. It's not cast in stone.
Yes.
My initial position of policy reversal is not even cast in stone. Even before removing of the subsidy, Nigerians needed a whole lot of palliatives. Because we inherited a government of misrule for 8 years that brought Nigerians, merged the middle class with the lowest class, and destroyed the productive capacity of the middle class. You no longer have a class after the poor of the poor. What you now have is the poor and the rich, the billionaires, the state-made billionaires. So, and the economy is in their hands. And anytime the economy is in turmoil, this is their best period of lives. Dangote has been given additional license to bring in petroleum products, extraordinary license to bring in petroleum products. But his refinery was touted to be the biggest in the whole world, in sub-Saharan Africa. And it was inaugurated under the glare of the world, the plague light and everything. And that it was going to be producing, rolling out by
August.
No, they told us
July, I think.
First week in July. First week in July. And we know that nothing is going to come out of that petroleum, of that refinery, till next year. In fact, there was a documentary that some people did, the bloggers did, and saw where massive construction work was still going on in that refinery. So we're not expecting a miracle. And that's why he has been given license to bring in petroleum products. So who is benefiting and who is fooling who? What we need now, in addition to the palliative Nigerians even needed before the removal of the subsidy, the civil servants are clamoring for salary or wage increases. These things are not automatic, because when you now want to do a wage increase, it has to go to the Senate. It has to be backed by law. There has to be a minimum wage act. So that is a process. But if you say a transport allowance or feeding allowance, there are many things you can do that will not require legislation. You can do all that as palliative while you wait for an adjusted salary or wage act that will look at the corporate wage bill in Nigeria. America has one indivisible wage bill, a minimum wage of $50 or $30. But in Nigeria, we have various sectors. National Assembly has its own wage plan. The central bank people have their own, NDIC, NMPC, the banking sector. So labor is not unitized, is not based on hour or hourly production. That's what P2B has been clamoring for. Immediately you don't have a plan in a country where there are differential in wages so much that it distorts the productive endeavors of the individuals. The civil servants are the punching bag of the economy, where you pay a civil servant 18,000 naira a month and expect him to come to work 30 days or 28 days of the week, maintain his family, have a telephone system, pay his electricity bills, go to hospital
18,000.
With 18,000. So it's terrible. So if they really, Obasanjo, because you mentioned that this subsidy thing have moved from more than 2 administrations. It actually started with Obasanjo. You can remember when they said the Federal Urban Mass Transit. You remember that policy? Where our big transporters were given fleets of vehicles to introduce on federal highways and pay back on regulated basis. That policy minimized the initial impact. And like in every other thing in Nigeria, it was marred in corruption, and that policy was not further sustained. It would have been a regular system where the transporters can lay their hands and say, I need 10 buses, and I will be paying on a regulated basis. Like Innocent producing, and people will be given license or mandate to go and collect from Innocent and pay back at consequential periods or incremental basis. Those are the impacts that could reduce the immediate scourge that we have seen from ourselves.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Just look at what we have in on our screen. Where we did some mathematics, talking about federal government to disburse $800 million to 50 million Nigerians as palliative for petrol subsidy removal. You can see where you are divided by the $800 million by 50 million Nigerians. You are getting $16 each, and then you go further to multiply it by 740, and you're getting 11,840 naira. That's the dollar now, equivalent. But now it's 800 and something.
840.
840, yes. So you are getting like 11,840 per Nigeria.
You can see the drop in the ocean. Like he said, the cash transfers don't work because the system is corrupt. What will work is a massive improvement in infrastructure exchange. The way things are done, not the money. $500 million can, of course, build a new refinery from the scratch. I learned that a contract was given for the revamp of Port Harcourt refinery, all the 3 refineries we have, Ori and Kaduna refineries. And there's no accountability. If that kind of money that we have is pumped directly into our teaching hospitals in a regulated basis, on a specialization basis, UNTH will know you are doing cardiac. Take this money for the improvement in cardiac. Luth, we know you are doing renals. Take this money for improvement in renal surgeries and all that. And these monies are spread and judiciously implemented. The scourge of the moment will be reduced and be felt. And then, why is it impossible for a petrol-producing country like Nigeria not to have one single functioning refinery? It's an anathema. Why do you even, Nigeria owes 20% in Dangote refinery. And you know, actually, there's a lot of corruption in the Dangote debt to equity ratios there. A lot of big Nigerians invested in that, some banks invested in that contraption. Why didn't we use our 20% hold or equity to rectify our own refinery? Why must it be the private refinery that is better than the public refinery? Brazil runs the best refinery in the world, state-owned. Most of the refineries in America is also state-owned because it's a resource which you will not allow the private interest, which is the multiplication of profit. There is no public good in any company. If every company runs It runs on a commercial line. What is the objective? Multiplication of profit. What if the state-owned organization is running? It's looking at the welfare, social input, dividend. What do I do? Which type of product should I produce more? People need more gas now. Why don't we produce more gas? Kerosene. Let's move away from kerosene and subsidize gas pipelines so that our people can consume gas that's being flared all over the place more. They tried it as a palliative, and it was hijacked by the people who have interest in the bottling and importation of liquefied gas. They had a policy where they said they were going to give household cylinders. NMP started it. You can see they are green painted cylinders. It didn't go round again. It started being sold at 18,000 naira per one. And who can easily afford it? It's a measure, it's a way of turning over things for the common man. Give these people gas burners with cheap, reduced cylinders. People will start gradually converting from consumption of kerosene. So that, the kerosene is a cheaper byproduct of the refinery process. So that we can have more gas and more environmentally friendly environment, because gas is lighter. Kerosene pollutes the more and produces less energy anyway. So the palliatives has all been there. It is the implementation and the process and procedure, the corrupt practices that are connected and subsumed in this palliative that make them not work. Subsidy have gone through 4 regimes, and all through these 4 regimes there have been history of graduated palliatives being given. I've just mentioned the urban, federal mass, the housing, the mortgage. There's nothing they will not tell us on the papers. But do they work? Have they worked? When you now talk of a salary increase of 200% for the civil servant, what are you talking about? In an economy that is witnessing inflationary trend of 32-point-something%, and you give more money for consumption in the hands of civil servants, what will happen? You get a further spiral. The economy will turn and dive and nosedive and die. It is not the cash equivalent that Nigerians need. It is the upliftment of their lives so that they can produce more. The lady that spoke well, because she's actually very educated. She said, when civil servants begin to avoid work, productivity drops. The general domestic product of the country is almost virtually nothing, because we're not producing anything. We're not producing, we are just selling fuel. We're selling our crude oil. That's the only thing we're selling. Our agricultural inputs are not exportable because it doesn't meet international standard.
Okay. All right, just before we go, from you, Obibeze, what actually do we need as a nation, as citizens of Nigeria, now that the subsidy has been removed, in as much as we are waiting on the government to see if we can reverse this particular policy, but then how can we cushion the effect of this removal of subsidy?
He's talked about most of them, but maybe...
just for your own...
Yes. First and foremost, he talked about buses. Now, prices of the price of petrol keeps going up. It hardly comes down. So when you are providing buses, provide buses that can use compressed natural gas. What does that mean? That means that you have to work with companies, organizations in Nigeria, empower them, work out arrangement where they can make compressed natural gas available, at least if only to transporters, and if possible, even to private vehicle owners. Compressed natural gas is cheaper than liquefied petroleum gas. Or you take both. You take both compressed natural gas, CNG, and LPG. Make that available. You take care of two things. One, you bring prices down. Two, you increase production. Hello? You increase production. You bring prices down, you increase production. I don't want to share 1 naira. First and foremost, I have no guarantee that that 1 naira will go anywhere. So don't talk about it. Take that money and invest in productive activities that will bring prices down, that will make life more livable.
So you're not of the opinion of, just like you suggested, probably transportation allowance or
no, transportation allowance is okay.
Okay. It's long overdue.
It's okay. Transportation allowance, I have no problem with that because that goes, you pay directly through your, you know. Yes, I know we have ghost workers and so, but no, but it's not as bad as the palliative, the cash transfer system. Okay. That will work.
But we still know that majority of Nigerians are not civil servants.
Yes, there is always that effect, that spread effect.
No, why I'm saying that,
yes.
you said that you are not of the opinion that they should share the 8,000 naira.
Yes.
Now, some of the people that probably might receive the 8,000 naira are not in civil service. They are not civil workers, civil servants in Nigeria. Now, if you're adding money to the salaries of civil servants, what happens to the businessmen?
Yes, you're taking care of them by providing cheaper fuels.
Okay.
By CNG, by LPG, and by having this mass urban transportation. You've taken care of them.
Go ahead.
Okay? So you've taken care of them. Okay?
The civil servants represent the majority of organized labor. There's no other sector in Nigeria that is higher in number than the civil service. Because that is the only group of people you can take statistics of. If you come to Anambra, they will tell you we have 140 civil servants on their payroll. For example, just for example. Huh?
140,000.
I mean, just for example, I said statistically, every state knows the reasonable number of their civil service.
Yeah.
And then, no other sector in Nigeria is organized. So that when you make a policy, a direct policy that affects the civil servants, you're actually touching a significant portion of the population. And then you know that the average civil servant is a breadwinner. He's a provider. He's the guy who pays school fees. He's the guy who actually pays tax. These other people, the non-organized
sector.
The beer parlor woman who sells, who makes about 100,000 a day, goes home with her money. She doesn't pay anything. All she knows is that things are skyrocketing, and then her product has to skyrocket. That's how she reacts. But the civil servants is caught in the web that where the income tax is 10%, immediately the salary drops, 10% is removed. So significantly and statistically, it is better to deal with the organized labor.
Okay. All right, we really don't have much time again. We have to go. And we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us. Thank you so much, Obi Meze, for being part of the program this morning. And also Barrister Chris Aruke. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, that's it on the show this morning. We've talked about fuel subsidy removal, the palliative Nigerians need. Well, it is what it is. Well, my name is Chidima Oranwa. See you again tomorrow.
My name is Ajuli Chukwukabuyi. Thanks for being here.